Do you think selling around 20 million copies of your book about success means that you know how to be successful? If not, then how about the fact that this book was written just before World War II? It was still in the top 10 bestsellers in the category of self-help books in 21st century. Sup there, I'm Phoenix and I read self-improvement books so that you don't have to. Or at least so that you know which ones are worth reading. Of course, you are more than welcome to just learn from my videos directly. In today's episode, I will review the basics of the formula for success presented in Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, a very popular book for self-improvement in the last almost 100 years. The author was very interested in what made people successful or not, and so he reportedly interviewed tens of thousands of people, both the winners and the losers, to find out just what was it that let some succeed and what was it that made others fail. First of all, why would anyone research how to become successful? After all, it sounds simple. You just need to earn lots of money. However, is it so easy to do so? It obviously isn't. Otherwise, everyone would be successful. You would just need to study hard and become a doctor or a lawyer and invest money where, right? Well, wrong. Even then, success can be far beyond your grasp. This is because being successful is not just about what you do, but also about how you do it and the way you think. Okay, time to bring out the formula. Step 1. Make a very specific goal, including amounts and details. It is crucial to leave nothing unclear. Step 2. Make a very specific plan on what you are ready to do to achieve your goal. This includes effort, material cost, time, and other things you are ready to sacrifice whenever needed. Step 3. Make a very specific deadline for your goal. Step 4. Make a very specific plan on how to achieve your goal from step 1 while taking the other two steps, the second and the third, into account. You want to plan as many steps in detail as you can. Ready or not, you must start immediately. Step 5. Write down all the previous 4 steps in a clear, succinct statement as one coherent draft. You can think of it as your formal plan. Just don't go crazy and don't write a whole essay. It's just a summary of all key information about your goal and your plan to achieve it. Step 6. Keep this draft somewhere on hand and read it out loud every morning after you get up and every evening before you go to bed. It is very crucial to act as if your success is already a foregone conclusion and you are on the cusp of achieving it. Don't worry if it's hard at the start, just fake it till you make it and try to feel as much emotion as you can. Of course, I'm talking about the emotion you would have in the moment of success. Now, let me explain what each step does. The first step is a psychological trick to make you more determined. The more specific something is, the easier it is to motivate yourself to do it, which is why it's important for your goal to be very clear. The second step serves the same purpose, but in a different way. It's there to prepare you for the sacrifices you will almost certainly have to make to succeed. If having to pay a large cost to achieve your goal surprises you in the middle, you may end up shocked and hesitant to proceed. But if you know the price you have to pay and are ready for it from the start, then you will be able to stay calm and keep working hard for your goal. It's the same story with the third step. The same purpose, different method. Implementing a deadline puts additional pressure on you, giving you a sense of urgency to accomplish your goal. However, the deadline shouldn't be unreasonably distant, nor should it be so imminent that you won't have time to take care of it. Be realistic. The fourth step is different but also important. It will help you know what to do at any given step of your pursuit of your goal. which means that you will hesitate less and won't be stuck not knowing what to do. Just remember that you can't make a perfect plan, so be ready to fix any mistakes and improve the plan as you go. The fifth step is basically the same thing as the previous one, except that you must do it to have your plan at hand. You may do it on your computer, but I advise that you put it down on paper anyway. Also, the fifth step is to prepare for the next one. The sixth step is there so that your goal and your plan to achieve it remain vivid in your mind every day, which in turn will help you keep your desire for the set goal and the motivation to achieve it high, or at least should do so in fear. Additionally, constant reiteration of your plan will help you condition yourself for success, raising your confidence in your victory. All in all, the six steps help you gain determination to achieve your goal and provide you with an instruction on how to achieve it. So, how do you apply the formula? Honestly, I think the formula is self-explanatory. You just need to follow the steps in the order listed. Don't underestimate any of the steps and follow them faithfully. If your goal is to get rich, you ought to specify the exact amount, such as 1,250,000 or just 250,000, whatever. However, I think money is pretty obvious, so I will instead show you a less tangible goal as an example. Step 1. Setting the goal, losing weight until it's quote-unquote ideal. Step 2. Immediately sign up for a gym and commission a professional trainer to write an exercise regimen for you. At the same time, commission a dietitian to help you adjust your diet. Decide the budget that you will commit to this. Step 3. Lose weight by the end of the year, assuming you have enough time to do that, of course. Step 4. Take the training and diet regimens from step 2 and create a very specific day-by-day plan to follow, with timing and other details included. Since we are talking about something like loss of weight, which is different for every person, remember to focus on efforts rather than results, at least initially. Especially since many dietitians and some trainers know shit about weight loss. Do it all immediately, without waiting to be ready. Step 5. Make a summary of the plan from step 4 that you can easily access, preferably written down or printed. Don't write more than one or a few pages. Step 6. Read the thing that you just wrote down or printed out loud every morning and evening, while trying to intensely imagine it's already about to come true. And you must feel like it's about to come true. On a side note, this formula has a very wide array of possible applications. Whether you want to obtain something material or achieve something abstract, you can do it with this formula. I only want to warn you that if your goal specifically requires that other people act in a specific way or do specific things for you, things will get difficult. For example, if your goal is to find a wife or husband who looks like this and this, behaves like that, and does whatever for your sake, you may never succeed. The higher expectations, the lower your chances. Therefore, I advise against setting goals that largely depend on other people. Let's talk about my experience with this technique now. I have tried it out a year or two ago. It's quite good for very specific immediate goals. I used it to motivate myself to work and earn money. However, sadly, I didn't have long-term success with this method. This is because of one major weakness the formula has, and it just happened that it was very relevant for me. What's this weakness? Well, if you will recall the first step, you need to have a very specific and detailed purpose to apply this formula. Unfortunately, my only goal when I tried it was very vague and hard to specify in detail, and I simply didn't care and still don't care about anything else enough to have the level of determination this formula requires. As if that wasn't enough, do you remember what I just said about plans that depend on other people being at risk of failure? Yes, you guessed it. The vague goal is even more vague because it absolutely requires others' participation, and it's hard for me to tell what exact kind of people will work without trying with someone specific, making it even more vague. Therefore, I have the worst possible affinity with this technique. I made a test run with my main goal and some secondary goals, and it only worked consistently for the latter before I gave up on it. Another problem I noticed when I tried to apply this formula to my main goal was that I was less and less motivated to fully read the plan I printed out every day, and I would end up skimming it or even not reading it at all. This was mainly because I couldn't conjure any specific image of succeeding at my goal due to vagueness and factors that I couldn't predict. Yes, I mean those other people thing. In other words, if you use this formula, please watch out for step 6 and make sure you read your plan sincerely. Well, this goes to show that this formula isn't very powerful. If it was, then Hill's book wouldn't have needed a bunch of other topics related to being successful. Alright, let's summarize the pros and cons of this technique, starting with the strengths. 1. It gives clarity and determination in your purpose and helps maintain them. 2. It helps prepare for obstacles, challenges, and the future costs you will incur, making you less likely to give up. 3. It helps avoid procrastination. 4. It makes smooth progress easier by planning out everything in detail. And 5. Helps make you believe in your success. And now it's time for the weaknesses. 1. You may find yourself torn between trying to maintain your momentum every day and having no time to rest as a result, and the more tired you get, the more you will end up reluctant to continue. 2. Despite being great for specific goals, it's crap at dealing with goals it's hard to imagine in detail and goals you haven't properly thought through yet. 3. Success rate decreases the more your goal depends on other people and unpredictable factors to achieve. 4. Requires a lot of grit to stick to in the long run, and it's not very useful if you aren't quite determined to reach your goal. 5. It's quite possible for the formula to fail if you don't stick to it in every detail. 6. Unless they are caused specifically by your failure to achieve your goals so far, the more mental or emotional issues you have, the less likely this formula is to work on its own. In essence, you may need to use something else to deal with your problems first or alongside it. Dove Hill's book includes many solutions to such problems. And the last, the ready or not, act immediately part's placement in the fourth step is honestly retarded, and it should be placed as a separate seventh step. Regarding the last point, it makes no sense to make a plan, start realizing the plan, and only then write down the plan on paper to read it every day. Such placement is confusing. Nonetheless, it is an important part of the formula, so I advise that you just delete it from the fourth step and add it as a separate seventh, that is last step. My conclusion? It's a good formula for an average person that struggles with achieving goals or a successful person that wants to be even more successful. However, if the person has some nasty crap going on in his or her life, or if he or she lacks a clear and distinct goal he or she seriously wants to achieve, then the formula will be less effective and probably won't be sufficient on its own. Do I recommend it then? Yes, but only with the caveat that you take what I just said into account. Otherwise, you ought to solve the other problems first. By the way, for this you can actually use this formula as well, but you may need to use a small trick. Instead of making, quote unquote, achieving something your goal, you may need to focus on your efforts instead. Some things depend on specialized knowledge you may not even know to exist, so I don't want you to get discouraged by failing to solve a problem before the deadline. I hope you enjoyed and perhaps learned from my review. Thank you for watching. I will continue to review self-improvement concepts and methods, so if you are interested in seeing more in the future, then please be a good boy or girl and like and subscribe. I also invite anyone who has had experience with Napoleon Hill's formula to share their impressions in the comments. P.S. An interesting fact. The author is a bit of a controversial figure. He had lots of ups and downs, and many claims he made in his life have never been confirmed, especially regarding his accomplishments. He was also accused of running several scams. That's a bit crazy for a success guru, but he got rich a number of times. Well, yes, because he also lost a lot of money, including at least once in a divorce, and died having an equivalent of today's $8 million, so at least he did have enough success to prove his method somewhat. Well, the dude went through 4 divorces, with the 4th one especially costing him most of his wealth at the time, so I guess it makes sense he didn't have more. Frankly speaking, I was surprised when I read about his life recently. My belief in the veracity of this formula continues to stand. This is because most of what the author says is mentioned by other prominent self-improvement figures, including those from his times, and not only those who came after him. However, remember that this is a formula, not the formula, and that it's most probably legit only because Hill was studying other people and learning from them rather than coming up with ideas himself. While it seems to work quite well, there are surely many better success formulas out there.